Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on TCM. I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Today, we're turning programming over to members of the TCM backlot. 4 fans, 4 movies. It's another edition of Fan Favorites. Each one of them will be video chatting with me to introduce their selection. And up first, from Arlington Heights, Illinois, Adolfo Acosta. Adolfo, welcome.
Hi, Ben. Happy to be here.
You've chosen City Lights, Charlie Chaplin's City Lights. A great selection. Before we get to the movie, what drew you to classic Hollywood? When did your love affair with classic movies begin?
I would say it began in college. I became a film student in college, and I was introduced to a lot of the canon classics: Casablanca, Gone with the Wind, all the usual suspects. And then after I graduated college, I kind of just kept that passion going, and just I try to watch a new movie. Pretty much every day of my life, a new classic movie, new movie in theaters, anything. But classic movies, the 30s and 40s, that era, that Hollywood era, that's my favorite era.
And you host a podcast about movies too, is that right?
I do. I host a podcast called The Essential Films, no relation to the TCM, The Essentials, but yeah, where we talk about all the different, again, like the canon classics, the Casablanca's, Gone with the Wind, On the Waterfront.
Well, given the fact that you have a podcast that discusses essential Hollywood classics and that you studied film in college, obviously you have a wide range of knowledge about classic cinema. Why'd you pick City Lights as the movie to talk about today?
So City Lights is my favorite Chaplin movie. I know a lot of people usually go to The Gold Rush or Modern Times as even The Great Dictator as kind of the more famous ones. But City Lights to me is like the quintessential Chaplin movie, as far as the one that kind of really emphasizes and epitomizes everything that he did. I think it's also a great comedy. So it really balances like the romance and the human nature with a lot of great Chaplin comedy.
I don't think it's possible to disagree with you there. It's often referred to as as a particularly human Chaplin film. It's also so bold. In 1931, he starts production on this movie. In 1928, his sound is making silent films obsolete. But of course, it's Chaplin, so he continues to do things his way, making his own kind, very skillfully using little bits of sound. While of course there's no actual talking in the movie, but I think it's interesting that this version of the tramp character is so often seen as incredibly relatable.
Yeah, exactly. So he had a universality to that character, even though nobody else kind of nobody's really met anybody like that, which is why he kind of resisted the move to sound pictures, because he thought if the tramp ever spoke, it would take away that relatability and universality. Of course, he did eventually speak in The Great Dictator. He didn't really speak in Modern Times. Did sing in that movie, but he didn't really speak. And you mentioned how he was kind of kicking and screaming into the sound era. They kind of make fun of that in the first couple of minutes with the opening sequence when he's sitting on the statue and they're kind of unveiling the statue, and you kind of hear kind of muffled what kind of sounds like a kazoo, and it's kind of meant to mock the sound of the time. So even though the talkies were popular, they hadn't quite mastered sound recording. So he was kind of mocking how some of the sound pictures sounded with kind of the muffled dialogue.
I also, it's funny. I hear you on that, and that's obviously true. But I took the speeches that you'll see being made as he's sort of sleeping on this, with a scene where he was sleeping on the statue, and the speaker sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher. So
yes,
it's also suggesting sort of the pointlessness of this kind of discourse, that this isn't real human discourse, fancy people from the town unveiling a fancy statue, saying stuff that doesn't matter. Whereas his relationship, his incredibly human relationship with Virginia Sherrill, that's the human connection, that's the relationship that matters.
Right. And of course, there's that great juxtaposition of this great unveiling of this magnificent statue, and then there's this, homeless tramp like sleeping on it.
Yeah, no, it's a nice moment. The movie is full of nice moments, as you're about to see. Let's take a look at it. We'll come back. We'll talk after the movie. From 1931, selected by TCM fan Adolfo Acosta, this is Charlie Chaplin's City Lights.